Okay, so we're going to get started here. The State of Open edX talk. This is a short talk. We'll just be giving an update on what's been going on in the community, some of the things that have happened in the last year, and what we're looking forward to. Just to kick things off, so I want to introduce myself. So I'm Joel Barchauskas. I'm the manager for the Open edX team at edX. I'm trying to make this community as successful and productive as possible. I came from a company called Blue State Digital about a year ago. If you've ever received an email from Barack Obama, I was in part responsible, so I apologize, because if you received one, you received at least 5,000. And it was my job to send them even faster. So that's just a little bit about me. But before we get started here, I want to take a minute to, again, thank Jono and Anant. They had some incredible, inspiring words, and I think I'd like to give them another quick round of applause. I know Jono's talk was basically laying out my roadmap for the next year, so I appreciate that. I'd like to thank the Stanford team, Richard, Carrie, Brent, Melissa, Bob, Eric, and everyone whose names I'm forgetting or don't know yet. This has been, so far, an amazing experience working with them and making this conference possible. They truly have made this conference possible. They even brought us this amazing weather. So a big round of applause for Stanford also. So we have, like I said at the start, we've had an incredible number of people contribute to this conference. We have OpenCraft and Extension Engine, our lunch sponsors. You'll be hearing from each of them today and tomorrow, talking about their experience with the Open edX platform and the really interesting work that they're doing. And I'm really excited to hear from them. I'd also like to thank AppSembler, Arbisoft, and Edcast, our premier sponsors. And all five of them are set up in the Bishop foyer here. They're demo tables. So I'd really like to encourage you all to go out there, start a conversation, see what they're doing. They're all really great contributors to the community, and we appreciate their support in making this conference possible. I'd also like to talk about a few of our other sponsors. Abstract Technology, a new sponsor this year. We're really excited to have them join us. Also, MERP Science and Technology Company, Perpetual Learning, and EduStack. So a few notes, if you haven't seen already, we're using the conference tag hashtag OpenEdX 2016. If you haven't joined us on Slack, the hot new online chat tool, you can join at bit.ly/OpenEdX-Slack. And there's a channel there for just chatting about the conference, talking about what you're seeing here, what you've learned, keeping the conversations going. I really encourage everyone to join there and get involved. There's also hackathon-related chat rooms, hackathon and hack-star for different teams to use for their hackathon projects. We also have Birds of a Feather. These are sessions for just having a group discussion about a topic that you're interested in. It might be something that's covered in a panel here. It might be something that we don't have programming around and you want to really engage the community in a conversation. There's already been a number signed up. They're in the Lathrop second floor, 290, 292, 294, and 299. If you go to the conference schedule website, which is con.openedx.org/schedule. There's a link there to, within each of the Birds of a Feather sessions, there's a link to a Confluence page where you can either start your own or see what other people are doing. And then they're during lunch, the afternoon break tomorrow morning, and lunch and the afternoon break again tomorrow. So you're free to join or create any of those sessions, and we really encourage you to do so. It's a great opportunity to meet other people in the community who share your interests. And then a logistical note, we have a a room change. So anything that was listed in the program as Lathrop 190 has been moved to Lathrop 282. So that has been updated on the website, but in the printed program, it's listed as Lathrop 190. And to be completely transparent about it, it's because this conference is such a success. We wanted to move it to a larger space to make room for everyone that's here. So that is just a logistical note. So all of the breakout sessions that start immediately following this will be in this room, Lathrop 180 and Lathrop 282. Okay. Of course, now it stops working. And now I'd like to introduce our CTO at edX, Mark Hazelton.
Thanks, Joel. So just a couple slides, intro, and some other people are going to get up and talk. But just really exciting for me to be here. This is my second conference. I joined edX about a little bit over a year ago. So one of the main reasons I came to edX was to get to work on the open source project and work with the community. So I'm really looking forward to interacting with all of you, over the next couple days. Oh, someone's got an alarm going off. There you go. So just want to reinforce, how dedicated we are to being open and interacting with the open community. So as Jana was saying, learning from all of you about what you need from us in order to be successful. So, we really believe that we're going to be a better project, a better company if we get all of your input. So, we have a bunch of different open communication channels today, Jira, Wiki. We're redesigning our architectural process. Our chief architect, Eddie Fagan's going to talk about in a minute. And then the new Slack chat room we're going to talk a little bit more about as well. But really use these channels to give us feedback. We're here for your benefit and want to know what you think. So I just thought I'd be pretty explicit about what the goal is. So at least from my perspective, we're seeing more and more problems that are manifesting themselves as scalable education delivery challenges. So people trying to reach large numbers of people with educational content. And at least for the Open edX project, we think we're the solution there, and we want to be the solution there. So the idea is to really foster education worldwide. I think that's obvious, but allowing a different array of organizations to participate in the project is also a big goal of ours. To relieve the burden of platform development from content providers, so people that can focus on educational delivery, as opposed to the mechanics of managing users and delivering videos. We really want to promote interoperability of courseware so that you can move potentially from platform to platform if they're Open edX-based sites, and really encourage reuse of proven models. So as we see things that work, start to advertise that and get more adoption across the board. So from my perspective, we're just getting started. This is a really exciting time for Open edX. So, and I'm pretty confident I can make all these statements. We're definitely seeing accelerating adoption. So we're going to go through some of those numbers, but we're seeing more and more people on the project. Definitely a wider variety of organizations. As Anant mentioned this morning, we're seeing governments, we're seeing corporations, we're seeing universities. It's a pretty wide range, and that's just awesome to see. And the scale of the problems that they're trying to solve seems to be growing. So I'm now getting inquiries from people that want to set up sites that rival the size of edX.org, which is fairly new. Like you're not seeing usually people come along and say, hey, I want to set up a 10 million learner site. But that's really what's happening. And to me, I think we're just scratching the surface. So back to this whole innovator, early adopter phase. Like I just feel like we're just about getting started, and it's just an exciting time to be part of it. So in terms of investing in our future, and we're going to talk a little bit more about each one of these items, but our engineering team at edX has grown pretty aggressively in the past year. It's about a 50% increase. And I think any engineer, there are a lot of them here at the conference that can tell you that. Everybody at edX participates in the open source project in some way. Either they're helping, guiding, reviewing, whatever, they're participating. We're making some strategic investments in architecture, including hiring a new chief architect, Eddie, who's going to be talking to you in a few minutes, and very excited about that. We really have a group-wide focus on extensibility and modularity in the system. So for newer projects, that's a primary requirement as opposed to an afterthought. And we're looking at different sustainable ways to support the community. And so that's my kind of main takeaway that I'd like you to take from this talk is how do we help you broaden the reach of the project? So again, John, I mentioned that chasm that I think we're approaching. Like, how do we get over that? What would you want to see? How can we help? And we're definitely, here over the next few days or through the communication channels we mentioned, give us your feedback and tell us what you need. And with that, I think I'm going to bring Joel back up.
Thanks, Mark. So I just want to set a little context. I think, some of you are new, some of you have been here since the beginning, but just to set the context for what we're seeing in terms of the community growth and the exciting things that have been happening. So the design of the platform, was started really in September of 2011 by Anant and his team. They offered the first on-campus SPOC February of 2012, first MOOC in March of 2012, and then we started seeing edX.org starting to take off January 2013, 20 MOOCs and over 500,000 learners on edX.org. So you see here, June 2013 was really the birth of the Open edX project. And as Anant touched on, really driven by our great partners here at Stanford. We really appreciate everything that they did to help make that possible. And so, we're here now, June 2016, 3 years later, really celebrating the third birthday of the project. And I believe we'll actually have some treats later in the conference, specifically geared towards celebrating that event. So October 2014, we're up to 2.3 million learners on edX.org, but we're also starting to see Open edX platform adoption, 40 Open edX sites, 500 Open edX courses. September 2015, just around the last conference, we were up to 140 Open edX sites and 1,800 Open edX courses. So this is a representation of sort of the trajectory of the growth that Mark was alluding to. And you just see that it really is growing and accelerating. You can see here, so there's this spot here, right, like this step function. So what happened here? So the way that we don't ask people to register their instances. We don't have, you don't have to fill out a form to download or get set up. So we really have to go out and talk to people and find out, who is using the platform. So we took some time, really just a few days in January to say like, all right, so what are we missing? Like what's happening out there that we don't know about yet? And we found an additional 50 sites that we did not know about previously, just through our effort of going out, talking to people, searching, and finding what's happening. So as you can see here, we're just keep on going up and up. So today, so that brings us to today, right? So over 250 Open edX sites and over 3,700 courses on those sites. That's incredible. That is an incredible number. That is an incredible reach of the platform, and it really just, I think, speaks to the power of the platform and the great work that everyone is doing to expand the reach of education and providing education in a scalable way. We really believe that the community is critical to. That's a first. How does one go about, so that's a great question. So, definitely reaching out, at Joel on Slack, join the Slack team. That's a really great way. We just, message me privately. We do have a survey that we've distributed in the past where we've asked just a few key questions about what people are doing and what people's sites look like. And that really helps us when we're trying to figure out, how we can best support the community. It's really great for us to understand what sorts of hosting options people are using, what the size is, what their use cases are, and those sorts of things. So, we've promoted that survey in the past, and we'll continue to push it out to people. In the future, we may have other mechanisms of sort of getting people to sort of give us feedback in a more streamlined way. But we're interested. It really does help us as an organization, and I think it would help the project as a whole. So if you have ideas about how we can sort of put that information together and use it, definitely reach out and let me know. So these are just some of the organizations, building off of Anant's slide that represent the open edX ecosystem of people providing educational content. It's really astounding the diversity in terms of the types of content, the geography, the languages. We have over 50 countries, over 40 languages. Courses have been offered in over 40 languages across the platform. So, again, it continues to impress. And then some more numbers. In addition to those 250 sites, Anant talked about the 8 million edX.org learners. We've counted for around 5.5 million open edX learners just in our conversations with people and through those surveys and things like that. Again, as Anant said, that does not represent the entire base. There are so many sites that are either private, people behind firewalls, or otherwise, difficult for us to discover, that, we really think that, probably it's, at least equal to the number of people on edX.org. So we think, there's at least 13.5 million people learning on the Open edX platform at this time, but we think that, it's probably even more than that. So we talked a little bit about the Slack team. So when I started, we used IRC as our real-time chat collaboration. There was about 40 people on average on IRC. We had a really great experience using Slack. Actually, Bertrand Marone from IONISX, created a 2015 Open edX conference Slack channel that people really liked. We applied for and received a Slack team for the Open edX project, as edX is a nonprofit. I really thought that there's a huge potential here, just based on other projects. I have a friend that works on WordPress. When they moved from IRC to Slack, they went from about 100 people on IRC to over 1,000 people on Slack. The fact that we actually went from 40 on IRC, starting from 0 on Slack to 800 plus in just 7 months. That 20x growth over IRC, like that to me is just amazing. I mean, this is the number of people who have invested enough to actually sign up and log in and start seeing what people are talking about the project. That's actually like a substantial amount of investment. And then there's obviously the people who are driving the conversation. We're up to on average around 200 people reading, 50 people writing a day. And the jagged lines here are all just on the weekend it's a little quieter. This growth, and we're really interested in continuing to drive participation in that forum as a way for edX and the community to interact and the community to work together. And then here, just again, emphasizing the value of Slack. We have multiple different communication tools. We write a lot of documentation on Read the Docs, on Confluence, and on the mailing lists. But we really like the interactivity and close collaboration that Slack provides. These are some of the channels where our most frequent conversations are happening. One of the big breakthroughs, I think, for just transparency and collaboration was moving all of our architecture discussion to the Slack architecture channel, which really represented just an effort to be as transparent with, I think, the decisions that most affect all of you in the community, and being able to get your input on those. And so, speaking of architecture, I'd like to introduce our chief architect, Eddie Fagan.
Definitely need to lower it a couple inches for me. Thanks, Joel. I was a bit nervous. I've been at edX as chief architect for about 4 months now. Started in January. It's been a wild ride. Thinking about coming up here to talk, the nudist colony thing rang true for me. And then the thing went up, and now I don't feel as bad anymore. It's going to be great. Thanks, Joel, for pioneering that for all of us. So my job at edX is really to set the long-term technology vision for the Open edX platform. I've been working on large-scale distributed systems for my whole career, and jumping into the Open edX platform has been awesome. The passion and the energy from all of you that was the reason I joined. As Mark said, same reason for me, and I have not been disappointed. So thank you, all of you. If I haven't met you, which is almost everybody in this room, please come find me at some point during the conference. I would love to talk about architecture. It's what I do. So to that, I just wanted to quickly touch on, as Joel was mentioning, some of the improvements we've been making just in the last 4 months about architecture, just to try to make it more transparent. That's something that I value very, very heavily, something that the whole team does. So architecture on Slack, you'll find me there. You'll find my whole team there. We're very passionate about sometimes not architecture topics in there, but we try to keep it on message. We've got a new Jira project to keep track of longer-term roadmap items. We reorganized the wiki, so we've been doing a lot of tooling work. Mark briefly touched on this, but we're also in the middle of launching a new process for making decisions that have to do with longer-term planning, which we're calling the Open edX proposal process, or OEP. If you look at GitHub under the Open edX proposals repo, for those that are interested, there's a little more detail under OEP 1 about what it is we're trying to do. The point, though, is really to make the proposal process for making decisions. I have an idea. I want to pitch it to all of you, get that written down, have a formal process for actually talking about it, getting to a decision, and then having an actual artifact that we can reference later. For those of you that have been involved in the processes to date, that is an area of improvement that I think we are really going to make strides in over the next year. So we're very excited about that. In addition, I don't know how many of you know this, but there's actually a team of architects at edX. We're the ones trolling around the architecture Slack room. We have a lot of passion about the long-term vision of the platform. It's my team. Just jump in, ask us any questions you have. And I view all of you as well as architects and helping shape where we're going. So a very exciting time for us. I thought it was worth, especially coming in new, new guy coming in, let's make a mission for the team. So I came up with 4 values for the architecture team, and this was very much a work in progress. We went through this a couple of rounds. Where we landed on were 4 key values: autonomy, context, efficiency, and design. And we try to stick to these in every idea we come up with, decision we're trying to push through, discussion we have. These are core to how we want to operate as a team. So when you think about the long-term design of the system, these are all really, really important to us. So I just wanted to leave them up here for a second. I'm not going to go through all of them. One, just as an example that I'm going to dive into, is context. And just being a good community, having a lot of transparency, I think context is really important. Having a clear vision is really important. So to that end, I'm going to tell a very brief story, which is, for those of you that have developed on the Open edX platform, so quick show of hands and leave them up. How many of you have contributed to the Open edX platform in one form or another? Okay, of those people with their hands still up, how many of you have seen this diagram? Okay, that's more people raise their hands too. Keep them up. How many people understand this diagram? Those 3 people with their hands up, come find me after this. I have some questions for you. So, thank you. Thank you for volunteering. The same McDonald's people, I think, from earlier. So when I first joined edX, I found this diagram on the Open edX portal. It was made a couple of years ago to try to make sense of our architecture, which is pretty complicated for those that know it. And this diagram is actually not a bad diagram. It has all of the key elements, all the relationships, and it makes a lot of sense if you have a PhD in the Open edX platform. I didn't at the time. So when it comes to context and really having a clear vision about where we're going, we felt it was really important to try to restructure some of our collateral, some of the messaging. This diagram, which You can take a picture of it if you want. It's on the Open edX portal now. I replaced the old picture with the new one just before the conference. So that was conference-driven development. I'll credit someone else with that one. The diagram, though, just to give you a quick example of what we're trying to do, and again, my job as chief architect is to set a vision and draw a lot of boxes on a lot of whiteboards. That's what architects, that's all that we do. We're very excited about drawing on whiteboards. I was looking forward to this going up so I could just redraw this on the board. On the left is the edX platform code base and our attempt to show that it's a lot of stuff. And then on the right, these independently deployed applications. These are new services that are autonomous. Some of you are familiar with what we're doing there. This is trying to show that, yeah, that exists. That's a formal part of our system. And we're trying to move more in that direction. We're trying to ultimately reduce the complexity of the edX platform code base. We know it's complicated. We know we have a lot of work to do. And it's a big focus for the architecture team over the next year. So I'm really excited about that. In addition, we're trying to push extensibility and interoperability. We've heard what a lot of you have said. We know we've got a lot of work to do in this area, and we're really excited to tackle that. Some other things I'll mention before handing it off. We've had a couple of key technology wins over the last year. Some of you are familiar with these. Thank you to everybody who helped build them. A lot of you in the room were part of that. Comprehensive theming, our pattern library, our UI toolkit, so a lot of front-end development's a great and big way in which a lot of people extend the platform. And new autonomous services, programs and credentials, and our newer catalog service. I'm not going to go into those in too much detail. What I'm going to do is hand it over to Marco Morales, who is on our product team, who's going to dive into both our technology and our product changes that have just happened and are coming soon. So with that, I'll hand it over to Marco. Thank you.
You'll humor me for one moment. There we go. Great. So hi, everyone. For those of you who haven't met me, Marco Morales. I've been at edX a long time. I used Yahoo's time machine to figure out how many courses were on the site the day that I met Anant. I think there were like 7 courses. I think the day that I came in, there was scrambling to get the 8th and 9th course launched, something in that time frame. But my background is engineering. But I've also worked at various education companies. So previously at places that did K through 5 work, middle school work, then high school. And so edX is the first place I've been at that did higher ed work. And I'm here on behalf of the product team to show you a summary of some of the Open edX named releases. So the last one, or the current one, Dogwood. The next one coming up soon, Eucalyptus. As well as what's coming in 2 to 4 months. So what's beyond Eucalyptus, still not named. Great, so Dogwood. So, and actually one thing I do want to make sure I note is a number of these actual contributions from Dogwood and Eucalyptus are things that were actually community driven. So you'll actually see a number of features that you yourselves contributed to the platform on this list that we're really excited to highlight. I think that's a really important part and message to mention here. So Dogwood was released February of 2016. So some of the things on the platform and commerce side that we wanted to highlight: video, data, and insights. So Insights is the tool that we use to expose and visualize data that's coming out of data pipeline. So there's video data now in that. Comprehensive theming, improved certificate generation for those of you that have Open edX instances that issue certificates. An LTI X block, so you can actually drop in other external content into your Open edX courses. An upgrade to Django 1.8, pattern library and UI toolkit. And then finally, a new auto commerce system which actually deprecates the old shopping cart. And we've been building on top of that since then. Dogwood, on the teaching and learning side of things, so for those of you that aren't familiar, we actually have a mobile application, so iOS and Android. And the original version of that was actually primarily a video companion app. So students could actually download the videos and watch those asynchronously. We've also now included the ability to see assessments and HTML. So you can actually get a full course outline through your mobile application and consume that content on the go if you want. Improvements to the open response problem type to allow file uploads, timed exams, as Anant mentioned earlier, partial credit, which was also a community feature, the ability to preview the course as specific student so that support teams and course teams can actually understand what problems students are encountering. So next, Eucalyptus. So Eucalyptus is scheduled for sometime in July. So these are the things that we are confident are able to be a part of that. So this was already brought up, but a couple new services. So a course catalog service. a program service, and programs are essentially collections of courses. It's what's helped power the X series work that you see on edX.org. The credential service, so moving from just the certificate model that we have to allow for more extensible and more interesting kinds of credentials. So this credential service powers that. Improved account settings, multi-site theming support, and then coupon codes as a part of that commerce system and auto that we talked about. A next big sort of part of Eucalyptus is per learner insights. So again, yet more ways to help visualize the data that's coming through that data pipeline so that you can get a sense of what students are doing inside your course, how they're engaging with videos, problems, discussions, and it's just a first step for us. There's a whole lot more we want to do in this space, but it's a really exciting one. So next up on the teaching and learning side for Eucalyptus, so improvements to the course navigation. So for those of you that are familiar with the old courseware tab, that was the second tab in the course. So some updates to that, as well as a couple new applications for various sort of kind of goals within your course. So bookmarking, teams, and student notes are three of the sort of big applications. Video closed captions. So for those of you who have been involved with the platform, you've seen the transcripts, but you also now have an ability to sort of show the more classic closed captions over the video. Open response staff grading. So Anand also mentioned that you can actually do some hand grading of certain kinds of problem types, so some effort put into that. And then finally, an easy way for courses to move from being instructor-paced, which sort of have deadlines and are sort of more semesterly bound, to a self-paced model where deadlines kind of fade away. Next, so Eucalyptus has a number of improvements in the mobile department. So additional support for learner profiles, discussion forums on mobile, native course discovery, as well as push notifications. Those are all part of Eucalyptus. And a quick note on what's coming next, 2 to 4 month outlook on what comes after Eucalyptus. So on the platform and commerce side, order history for students so they can get a sense of what purchases they've made if you've got the commerce system enabled. Bulk program purchasing. So again, programs are when you have collections of courses. So you could upfront opt to join this entire program and collection of courses. Direct enrollment into those programs, as well as integration points for payment providers of different types. On the teaching and learning side, we have a full width course content and navigation. And the outline. So again, expanding the learning hall, which is the word we used to attribute with the little area you used to actually engage with content in. Improvements to the discussion forum. Assignment dates based on learners' time zones, so learners can tell you what part of the world they're in and have those dates be more meaningful to them instead of having to force them to translate to UTC. Grading improvements, so we can actually deliver clearer visual in-context course progress in the LMS, as opposed to sort of having that be a big operation in computation. And that's a summary of Dogwood, Eucalyptus, and what's next. I'll hand it back to Joel.
Thanks, Marco. I'll be quick with these since we're just about to run into the session breakout time, so we'll push those out a few minutes since we just have lunch after that. So, you know, we've seen a really great response from the community in the Open edX release program, and that's definitely something, you know, that we're excited about continuing. You know, we want to continue to enhance our communication around, you know, what's coming and what release, you know, shortening the cycle time between, you know, when we start the release process and when that release is available so that more features are available to you all quicker, things like that. You know, we're really, you know, building on some of what Jono was talking earlier, you know, we're really on board with the concept of making it easier for people to get onboarded quicker and figure out what they want to do and figure out the information they need to do what they're interested in doing with the platform. And, you know, the Open edX portal as it stands right now is a great place to get a lot of different kinds of information, but it's not necessarily clear for you to figure out exactly, you know, who am I and how do I get to the information that I need? So that's something we're going to be investing in. We're continuing to work to improve the transparency of our roadmaps and let you all know what it is that we are working on and prioritizing so that you can plan for it, so that you can contribute to it, so that you can build on it and continue to do the awesome things that you're all doing. And then finally, we've had a lot of success around this working group model. We've tried it in different ways. The campus working group has been a huge contributor to the Open edX project, leading a number of initiatives around LTI, third-party authentication, and those sorts of things. CCX, another one. And we're using a similar model with pioneering adaptive learning technologies and how to integrate them into the platform. And we're really excited to see the uptake and the wide variety of people that have joined that working group. And we're excited to see what we're learning from that and how we can use what we learned from that experience to continue to expand the community's involvement and influence over the direction of the product and contributions. So ultimately, it all boils down to the last line here. We've said it and we'll keep saying it for the next 2 days and on into the next year. We really want to hear from you. What do you need to be successful? How can we make you all successful and help all of us achieve this mission of providing a quality education for everyone, everywhere? And with that, I'd like to say thanks and enjoy the conference.